I think the lesson that esteemed audience should take away from that is pursue your soul book. It's working out.
I hope so.
Question I wanted to ask about several questions I wanted to ask about the book, because this is utterly a charming story. It is, esteemed audience doesn't need me to tell them that. They just heard it's on a long list. It's established that it's a charming story. But although there are plenty of sad things within it, and Junebug has my sympathy, right off the bat. It is not a morbid book or an overly sad book. There are lots of laughs along the way. There are good times to be had. So how much research did you do about 1983 Massachusetts town, given that you lived, this is your soul book, you've lived a lot of these experiences, not these exact experiences, but similar experiences?
Can you believe that 1983 is being called historical fiction now? That's what they're calling Trowbridge Road historical fiction, because 1983 was so long ago. I did some research on music in 1983 to remind myself about sort of what the sensibilities and styles were, and I did some reading about the early part of AIDS research and what people knew about AIDS in 1983, right around the time that the virus was becoming known for common people in America. And so that's what most of my research was about.
Have you, I don't know if this was 83 or maybe 84 of you, I'm sure you've heard the infamous Ronald Reagan press secretary, his administration's press secretary, with the conference where the reporters are joking back and forth with the reporters, most very 1983 homophobic fashion. And they're accusing each other of having the disease and really making light of it.
I haven't seen it, but I'm not at all surprised, because there was so much homophobia involved in the AIDS scare, especially in the early 80s, that it became a virus that had to do with stigma and people's prejudices. So I'm not surprised by what you're saying, although it's sad to hear.
Oh yeah, no, it was just awful. It's a lot of parallels as I was reading this. Well, 2020 is the year for this book to come out. If we're going to be talking about overly cautious reactions to mostly unknown virus that's moving through the population, how much do you see parallels between the COVID-19 hysteria?
I never would have expected there to be parallels. And when I wrote this book, I mean, I knew there were parallels in terms of people needing to learn how to be more accepting of each other, and I knew there were parallels that had to do with people having the problem of making other people into outsiders and not being inclusive in their neighborhoods and in their families. But I was not expecting that Trowbridge Road would come out during a time when a new virus had come on the scene. I mean, AIDS was the new virus of the 80s, but now here we are in 2020. And even though I wrote Angela Jordan, Junebug's mother, as a piece of fiction, what she experiences in her fears about infection really have become a lot of our realities. And so it's very odd, but I feel like there's sort of a mirroring that's going on right now. So I guess that's a good thing for the book, because it gives the book a nice place to launch into, where people need to hear these stories, and people are experiencing these kinds of fears.
Yes, Angela, what I say, Karen, Freudian.
You did, yeah, you did. I was thinking, did he mean Angela?
What was I going to say? The question's gone right out of my head, so I have to think up a better one. No, I was just laughing as I was reading about Angela, because I know, obviously, having the benefit of being further along, that some of a lot of the drastic measures she's taking to protect the household from AIDS are absolutely through the tops just crazy, and would have been honestly probably in 1983, but she would be fine in 2020. That is the approach she
I
takes.
know, and I have to admit, I want to say something about my experience with OCD. So when I was growing up, I was my obsessive thoughts had mostly to do with catastrophe. So I wasn't sort of your classic obsessive germaphobe that people sort of imagine when they think of obsessive compulsive disorder. Mine had more to do with having a pain and convincing myself that I had cancer, or thinking a lot about death or something like that. So that was very difficult for me. But since Corona has happened, I understand and have experienced the kind of obsessive compulsive feelings that I think are incredibly triggering for anybody, but for those of us who have OCD, this time of Corona is incredibly, I can only speak for myself, it's incredibly difficult. And so I myself understand disinfecting a countertop and walking outside and somebody yelling or singing or screaming and like thinking about the billowing virus coming out of their mouth and how far away do I need to be. These are things that seemed really extreme with Angela, and that, I mean, she takes it too far, but not so differently than many of us are experiencing life right now.